So we are still in the periphery of Europe, and we are in Serbia. So we will see how this case study is going to what this case study is going to show. So similar like in Turkey, what we did, our colleague Bojana Barlovac, who is a media scholar, analyzed how one like one newly born right-wing group influenced society a lot throughout the anti-refugee media ecology. So I would like you to, please, the next slide. So to give to go through the context, what are we going to talk about? So I'm going to give brief cultural and political context in Serbia, even though many of you are familiar from our previous presentations. Then we are going to talk about methodology, just to touch base, to say what we did and what we analyzed. And then we also need to think about, also to talk about media landscape in Serbia, because this was also part of the report. And then in the end, it's a main part, the analysis of so-called Narodne Patrole, or People's Patrol, the right-wing group that it's in focus in this presentation. So next slide, please. We are continuing with the political and cultural context in Serbia. Basically, all started in the wartime in the 1990s when it comes to the far-right ideas. The far-right ideas are put in the forefront, and this mostly revolved around this nationalist ideology that raged throughout the former Yugoslavia. And this nationalist ideology is basically, when it comes to Serbia, means that Serbian territories have been unjustly detached from the country. So all of those nationalists who are at the same time conservative but also right-wingers are calling to prevent further territorial disputes. And these far-right groups continue to be really strong and main agents when it comes to the radicalized behavior in the political scene in Serbia, even after the war, after the breakup of Yugoslavia and after the fall of Slobodan Milošević in 2000s. So throughout the whole 2 decades, since 2000 until 2020 or 2021, we see the same attitude towards different topics when it comes to the right-wing groups and the people who are representing them. So this was probably, this is my recommendation for all of those people who want to read more about what is happening in Serbia when it comes to extremism and radicalization, just to take our report from work package 3. So everything is pretty much in details this explained there. So authors of that report found that during the first and second decade of 21st century, all types of radicalization have risen in Serbia. So ethno-nationalism, separatism, Islamic extremism, and right-wing and left-wing radicalism. However, to stay in this kind of the idea of a socio-political turmoil, to this day, the right-wing radicalism is the hardest. It's the one that occupies society the most. And on top of that, what happened is the so-called migration crisis, followed with the COVID-19 pandemic and the COVID-19 crisis, that contributed even more to rise of xenophobia, nativism, and following behavior among Serbian right wings and the nationalists. So next slide, please. I just want to say two basic things about the methodology. So the first one is related to the research itself. So having in mind that we needed to analyze how one newly born organization present itself. It was more like more investigative work than the research itself. This is why we engaged Bojana Barlovac, who is a media scholar, but she has a previous experience in the investigative journalism. So it was actually a great combo. And when it comes to methodology, you all were, of course, aware, because you all did the same the same analysis. However, what we did is we, as a sample, we use Facebook page of this radical group, so-called People's Patrol, and we analyzed 3 videos that they posted, and we are going to follow their development throughout these videos. So next slide, please. To briefly touch base on media in Serbia as a really important and a crucial factor. So Serbia media scene is characterized by a large number of media. So there are 800 printed publications, 300 radio stations, 200 TV channels, and 600 online media. And that's all according to media registry. So it is a lot for a small country as Serbia is. On the other hand, the media advertising market is really small. It's like 170 million euros annually, which is in comparison to even smaller country, not a lot of money, which is Serbian media rely on financial support from the state, but also from money coming from Serbian citizens. And this is not just for the national broadcaster, because there is the all the citizens need to pay, but also the other outlets really rely on the support from the citizens and their, let's say, fans. So, and this is where the online media is coming into terms, because the online media audience is constantly growing. So at the moment, there are 4 million Serbian citizens that are using internet every day. And 96.4% of them, when it comes to the internet population, are those who are between 16 and 24 years of age. And all of them have some kind of a profile on a social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And the Facebook is probably the most popular one. So this is according to Serbian Statistical Office. So next slide, because this is more resonates to how the media situation is looking throughout the perspective of the media influence. So media in Serbia has played actually a huge role in mediating the so-called refugee crisis by shaping its course and conduct, basically something that happens in every country in Europe. But we had the previous example of Turkey that Hazret already mentioned. But the radical groups were the one who actually took the lead in this kind of a growing anti-migrant sentiment. And this didn't come as a surprise, because this fragile media scene that I already tried to explain in the previous slide has limited freedom of expression because of the state control, but also because of this idea that people who are financing the media want to see what media is showing. So this is according to Reporters Without the Borders, Freedom House reports, and EU progress reports when it comes to Serbia. So despite often being excluded from traditional media, these right-wing groups use online media sphere and alternative, I mean, it's not alternative anymore, but non-traditional media places, because they are banned from the, let's say, public broadcasting, but they use online spaces, and the online spaces enables them to gain political capital by basically throughout the online communication spread the anti-immigration rhetoric. And we will see how this function on the next slide. So if you can just change it to the next slide to see who are those people from the People's Patrol, that would be great. Is it Oscar, you changing the slides, or Hannah is doing that? That's, yeah. So this is it. So basically it all started in February 2020. So the right-wing parliamentary party dVeri publicly launched an anti-migrant petition opposing an alleged readmission of immigrants from the EU back to Serbia. And what happened is that 4 days later, a so-called People's Patrol, so a totally new organization from the scratch, consists of extremists, was formed. And basically what they did is they started a Facebook page that in 4 days gained 50,000 followers. And on this Facebook page, they use it as an online platform that collected anti-migrant voices and from admins, but also from the followers, and actively took part in expressing their concerns, fear, and resettlement when it comes and the resentment when it comes to the comments of what is going to happen with the people on the move in Serbia. So basically, this group was in the first day recognized as the most vocal and active anti-migrant voice online with their frequent raids, protests, and everything that follow in the beginning. So what we did is that if we can skip this one and go to the next slide, we analyzed 3 videos that cover period from February 2020 until the March 2020, so just 2 months, where this informal organization of people basically start from threats and intimidation until the migrants are arrested. We will see how this developed. So, and every of these videos represents a milestone in their behavior. So the first video, threats and intimidation, started in February 2020. So it's kind of a premiere. Let's say it's the first video. It's a premiere on the People's Patrol Facebook page, and they first introduced themselves to the public. So we don't see their faces. They're wearing balaclavas and face masks, but also hoodies, and they're just cruising around downtown Belgrade. You can see all wearing black, and you can see there's all Serbian young men. And they're walking down the streets of Belgrade during the night, intercepting migrants and intimidating them, harassing them, and basically disseminating brochures and telling them that that their behavior is not going to be tolerated anymore. Their presence in Belgrade downtown is not going to be tolerated anymore. And from now on, they are going to be the one who is going to protect Serbian women and children from the migrants and refugees. And we did few days, 300,000 people saw this video. So it has almost 300,000 views, and videos started a huge debate where 2,000 people put comments on this. So, and part of this analysis and part of the report is also analysis of the comments, because comments are almost always anti-migrant feelings. And the comments be actually divided in 3 different groups, from those who prone using the hate speech to those who are using Cyrillic letters, because Cyrillic is, I would call it, instead of Latin alphabet, because Cyrillic letters are sometimes seen in the online sphere as a let's say, unofficial symbol of the far right. So this is a thing. So they praised their work. They said that the People Patrol are doing an amazing job instead of the government and the police, that they are geniuses, that they are saviors, that they are God servants, and they're heroes. So this is basically the first video, and this is how everything started. So next slide, please. We are coming to the other slide. It's a call for action. So in October 2020, following threats, with the first video, group goes a step further. So 3-minute long video, they shared, you can see 9 people from the People's Patrol that are standing during the night in an empty park, which is a so-called Afghani park in Belgrade, where the refugees and migrants gather. And all of them are saying that from now on, they are going to be, so basically they announced that there's going to be a huge people protest in this park against the migrants and refugees. Comments that follow were the same, like in the previous video. However, the result of their so-called announced protest was not that good, because 50 to 100 people showed up, all of them from right-wing groups, and all of them, yes, we could say protest against refugees and migrants and people of the move, but the achievement wasn't that successful, like in the video number 1, when it comes to the when it comes to the reaction of people and how many people view this thing. Which brings us to the video number 3 and the next slide with the migrants' arrest. So basically, after threats, intimidation, and the calls for action against refugees and other migrants, arresting people on the move came to the spotlight with this third video. So the third video analysis showed in March 2021 that the video, so basically in the video, you can see the disturbing scenes where the representative of people patrols arresting migrants in downtown Belgrade for alleged, so quote unquote, possession of narcotics. And this is basically a culmination of the group's action. And the first time that we have a chance to see that something of this happened. And also they present themselves as, and give themselves the right to act as a police right-hand man. So this is a strange thing because this type of the arrests are completely illegal in Serbia, I think in the rest of Europe as well. And this is where instead of online sphere and the potential protests, this group of people become more basically a vigilante group who start to attack migrants and refugees on the streets. However, this is not where they stopped, and we can see this on the next slide as a follow-up what is happening in 2022. Basically, throughout the new developments, People's Patrol continue to operate, quote unquote, all around Serbia, protesting against, of course, COVID-19 vaccination, Kosovo independence, support of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, fight against, quote unquote, Nazi and pro-Western governments, and they in 2023, and this is the latest information, tried to unsuccessful coup d'etat. I mean, they were armed and they protest in front of the presidential building in front of the National Assembly, and that happened 2 weeks ago. So if we skip this one and go to the next slide, you can see now that they're so the main person who presents himself as the head of the operation was arrested, and while the other members of the People's Patrol are still spreading the word and all the ideas that we mentioned in the previous slide. However, this brings me to a conclusion, show us that the videos that was described in this report, the marginalized group of people, such as the basically newly formed organization, without an access to the traditional media and the public discourse in general, can find a way throughout the backdoor of the social media, driving on topics that are actually resonates to the public. So as those right-wing ideas that you can hear and that we heard throughout the presentations today. So analysis has shown us that People's Patrol video in this report, I mean, basically, the idea is that this kind of mobilization can happen, that the people can organize pretty easily throughout these voices that they can hear if they like those, and the messages that are really radicalized can be really pushed further to the public, and then public can easily stick to them and then follow what some like this group are doing in Serbia. So thank you very much.